Okay. The unearned power-ups of Dragon Ball.
The longer Dragon Ball goes on, the more people throw around a specific phrase, unearned power-up. Whether it be
True. This is pretty true. Early on in Dragon Ball or whatever, I'm talking like Z. I never really watched regular Dragon Ball. Like the power-ups for like Goku and like the characters around, mostly just Goku or whatever. It's like there was that training montage or whatever where Goku's actively trying to get stronger. If he goes through like some breakthrough, it's because he trained for it, or somebody died, or like somebody close to him got hurt in some way, shape, or form. It's like, oh, Kaioken, ooh, Super Saiyan, so on and so forth, or whatever. But I mean, now it's just like, how many times in Dragon Ball have people died and they just get wished back or whatever? So that whole sense of like tension and sense of loss is not even there anymore, because everybody is like multiple universal galactic times 100,000 billion levels of strong, that oh, somebody close to me needs to die or whatever. So in that sense, it kind of like Dragon Ball starts to feel cheap, from like a lore perspective or whatever, like conceptually. Like, I'm not talking about like the animation of the fight scenes or whatever. Like, that stuff is still goated still, but it's like, oh, the reason he got powerful is because someone just put their hand on his head and unlocked his power, is probably what he's gonna start getting at or whatever. Because I think the thumbnail was like the Dragon Ball Super Superheroes movie or whatever. And I just got done watching that like not too long ago, and I was like, oh, unearned power, that makes sense. That's why fucking Orange Piccolo and Beast Gohan didn't feel as like impactful as like a lot of other characters' transformations or whatever.
a transformation, a new technique, or even just a character getting stronger in a disagreeable way, you'll always hear about unearned power-ups. So let's go over every power-up that's supposedly unearned in the series and see if it actually is. Original Dragon Ball is where we'll start, but honestly, there aren't many cases of a character powering up in a way that isn't training related. I think the first one you could look at is Goku fighting against Giren. No, not Jiren, I mean Giren, Goku's opponent in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. Giren uses his merry-go-round gum technique to entirely immobilize Goku, and seemingly he can't escape. That is, until his tail conveniently grows back, and even more convenient, this lets Goku escape the gum, and with a quick display of power, Giren resigns. It's obvious why people...
Yeah, that kind of seems unearned. It's just like, oh, it's convenient that his tail grew back when he didn't have one or whatever. I don't know how many times Goku's tail's been fucking like ripped off and grown back and at a convenient time or whatever, just because he needs another form of a power-up or whatever. I mean, but then again, you could argue that it's like, oh, he was in a fight or flight state and your body does weird things in a fight or flight state. Maybe he was sensing he was about to get the shit kicked out of him and his body's just like, he needs his tail or whatever. So yeah, I could see that. But, from like an audience perspective, it just feels like cheap and convenient that his tail is, back. And it also sets up a precedence for this to happen like again and again in the future.
People think this is an unearned power-up, but what if I told you it's just not a power-up? Only the dub has Goku say he feels so much stronger with his tail. The sub, and especially the manga, imply that his tail only gave him extra time to break out of the gum since it took a bit of effort. So I'd say this isn't the case of an unearned power-up, more so just a classic dubism. You may think the next unearned power-up is against Tao Pai Pai, but I think the 3 days of training with Master Karin and the additional explanation later on of it being a Zenkai boost are more than enough for it to make sense and feel earned. Don't worry though, we'll talk about Zenkais, specifically without training, more later on. For now, the more important Master Karin power-up to talk about...
So like, if a character just like hits like a transformation or does like a power up or whatever because he trained for it, you get some sort of little training montage or whatever. This feels more edible to like a regular viewer or whatever, because it's like a linear progression. It feels like I trained hard. You see Goku like sweating, doing push-ups, whatever training he did, probably punching through like mountains and rocks and shooting Kamehamehas through like all the shit and whatever. Then it seems like a little more edible. But like in real life, when you train for something and you don't do that thing in training, there's no possible way for it to happen in real life unless you've hit it in training. So let's say you're training for like a physical fitness thing or whatever. Like if you're training to go into a competition to deadlift like 500 pounds, you need to have already hit 500 pounds while you're going through your training cycle, you know? And then you're gonna like confidently hit it in competition, so that way you officially hit it or whatever. Now granted, you know, for like a media type thing like this, like a show or a movie or whatever, the designers or whatever, the storytellers, they don't want you to see fucking Goku hitting Super Saiyan for the first time while he's training, all right? It's just not that spectacular. It's not iconic. Granted, it's more realistic, you know, for Goku to go into like the hyperbolic time chamber or whatever, like gravity times 100,000, and then he like hits that shit and like, oh, I'm Super Saiyan now. Now I'm gonna fuck Frieza up. Because I can confidently like hit Super Saiyan, you know. Then he goes to fight Frieza, and then he hits the Super Saiyan while fighting Frieza. All right, something like that arc would be more realistic, but not as iconic, I would say. So, yeah.
About is 2 arcs later when Goku drinks the Ultra Divine Water. This is actually the very first potential unlock in the series, and it's a power-up that's a complicated one to cover due to how the story of Dragon Ball changed with the Z, but the easy answer is it was earned in the anime for sure, as Goku needed to go on a journey and even face a fake version of Master Roshi just to drink it. In the manga though, the answer will be based on how you feel about the payoff. You see, for the longest time, Goku's Ozaru form was a mystery and a dangerous one at that, but after drinking the Ultra Divine Water, the Great Ape form changed into a representation of Goku's own hidden potential. This payoff is quickly abandoned, however, especially after Goku being an alien and the Saiyans themselves are introduced, so I think it's fair to think of this one as unearned, but I can personally see it both ways. After this, we could skip ahead quite a bit till we reach Dragon Ball Z and that planet everyone wants to invade, Namek. This portion of the series is where everyone who was on Namek just kept getting juiced up, and honestly,
oh my god, that picture was so good.
it doesn't surprise me that people feel like a lot of this stuff is unearned. Let's start with the potential unlocks. Gohan, Krillin, and less importantly, Dende.
Yeah, all these guys just visited like the main dude, whatever, I forgot his name. He just like touched them and it's like potential unlock. Boom, boom, boom. You get an unlock. You get an unlock. Everybody gets a potential unlock. You know, he's like Oprah. He's like Namekian Oprah.
Get their hidden power unlocked, and of course, it's described as power they've always had, but it still doesn't feel that great that this is the way Krillin and Gohan catch up, especially when they're still so far behind. But that might actually be a good thing, showing that potential unlocks have a limited ability to make a character catch up without anything additional. This doesn't necessarily stay true later on, though. I can quickly go over Piccolo here as well. I think merging with Nail is a pretty powerful moment, showing both Piccolo's growth and Nail's resolve to do what he must for his people and planet Namek. So I think this power-up is narratively earned, and I think most people agree with that. The bigger issue is actually Piccolo's power before the merge. Depending on the source, Piccolo got 5 to 10 times stronger from merging with Nail. This skyrocketed his power level to over 1 million, as he was able to handle second form Frieza, but that would mean in the 5 days he trained with King Kai, he went from a power level of 3,500 to a power level between 100 and 200,000. I don't care.
Yeah, that's a big exponential growth. Just because he absorbed Nail or whatever. But, you know, granted, I guess, was Piccolo the only one that was able to, like, absorb, like, other Nameks or whatever? Or was this, like, a known thing that all Nameks could do, and they just chose not to do it because it's, like, a last-ditch effort kind of thing or whatever? So I don't know. It, like he said, it feels narratively earned, but, you know, in reality, it's like, Okay, whatever.
Care if he technically trained for it, that's bullshit. The
Yeah.
other famous unearned power-ups in this arc are ones I've already mentioned, Zenkai boosts. When a Saiyan survives a battle from the brink of death, they get stronger. This happens
Yeah.
for Goku, Gohan, and especially Vegeta.
Yeah, the whole Zenkai boost thing or whatever, just because it's genetics or whatever. I mean, this is kind of true in real life, you know. The people at the tippy top of like let's say bodybuilding or any sport in general are there because it's not only like because like the PEDs or whatever, it's also because even if they were not on PEDs, they would still look absolutely crazy. All right? It's the genetics. So, the whole Zenkai boost thing, oh, this is like the whole crux of the Saiyan argument or whatever. Oh, as long as you don't kill me, I'm going to rest and recover and come back stronger. So,
The point of these is to show that, in isolation, they actually are pretty ineffective. While Vegeta is able to deal with Frieza's initial underlings with Zenkai boosts, all it took was the Ginyu Force to show up, and if it hadn't been for Goku, he would have died before growing stronger than them. Even earlier than the Ginyus, Zarbon would have killed Vegeta if they didn't need him alive. Only further.
so it kind of seems like over the course of like the short term, Zenkai boosts are like dog shit, but over the course of like a lifetime, Zenkai boosts are like really helpful.
Furthering my point, Gohan's Zenkai boosts are equally ineffective, as are his Rage boosts at this point, so it only leaves us with Goku, who specifically trained while inadvertently getting Zenkais from it. This combination of training and Zenkai boosts earned him the power to take on the Ginyu Force in the same way I explained earlier with the Tao Pai Pai rematch. He did later get a very important and massive.
Oh yeah, and I forgot. It's not just there's regular time because for rest, like you need time to rest. It's like I forgot. Oh, there's sensu beans. So as long as there's like infinite sensu beans, that the whole short-term, long-term thing gets like only exponentially worse because you can just train to like absolute failure and just pop a sensu bean and just do it again.
Zenkai boost that is basically one of the two reasons Frieza is defeated, so if you think that one is unearned, I can't really blame you because it is super convenient after all. Though, I will say for Zenkais on the whole, for an arc that's dedicated to accepting and learning about heritage, getting power-ups through his genetics is thematically consistent at least.
Yeah.
Which takes us to the dumb argument people have made in more recent years, though usually they're not actually Dragon Ball fans. Super Saiyan. It's not an unearned power-up. Training isn't the same as earning. More often than not, something being thematically or narratively earned is.
Well, yeah, the whole Super Saiyan thing that just happens because it's like, you know, like a fight or flight situation is happening right there in front of you. You know, like a kid is trapped in a car, and then all of a sudden, like the mom is just like goes, you know, she just goes into fight or flight mode, and all of a sudden she can lift a car or like break a window with whatever, and like try to help save her kid or whatever. So it like this happens in real life. I mean, the cartoon is just, you know, they're just like overemphasizing like what can happen, you know, because I think for this or whatever, like the first Super Saiyan like transformation like that Goku had, I think was like, I think was pretty representative of like a whole fight or flight situation where he had to do something or like him and all of his buddies were going to die, so.
It's even more important and more satisfying than if it's acquired through training. This isn't the only thematically earned power-up either. That doesn't mean training can't be used as a good way to show that a power-up is earned though. The Cell Saga as a whole is a lot of power-ups earned through training actually, like the Super Saiyan grades. Other power-ups are earned thematically, like Piccolo merging with Kami and Gohan getting Super Saiyan 2. Which leads us nicely to the Buu Saga, where the beginning is all power-ups earned through 7 years of training.
Yes, the whole 7 years of training, but again, to the audience, if the audience doesn't see like the whole set, like I think because like at this time when they did that little flash, I mean, yes, it was on screen of like, oh, 7 years later, like all our favorite characters were just training for 7 years. I don't know, it just feels cheap when the narrator just goes, everybody was training for 7 years. Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, they were just training, and now they're stronger. You know, as like an audience member, it's like that just feels cheap. You know, it kind of almost feels like Mary Sue like. You know, but that's not the definition of a Marisu. But I mean, it just feels like stupid. Like, okay, they were training. Great. Now we're here.
Vegeta is a potential unlock, but it's a very character-driven one rather than a random power boost to help him just catch up, and the point is, it's unearned by his own admission. So does it even matter if being unearned is actually the point? As much as I don't like Super Saiyan 3 narratively, it is explained well enough, and Goku continuing to evolve Super Saiyan makes sense when you consider the fact that that was his main training goal in the Cell Saga. I think the main unearned power-up in the entire arc is Gohan's ultimate form, and personally,
Oh yeah, I forgot about this form. Was it called like Mystic Gohan or Mythic Gohan, something like that? Or who was it? One of the Kais, or was it Grand Kai or Supreme Kai? I forgot. Again, they did the Oprah thing where it's like you get a power up, and then Gohan was like, "Yay! Now I'm Mystic or Mythic, whatever." Granted, isn't this like the second time like that Gohan has just had like another unearned power, more or less? The first one from the big Namek, or the big Namekian on Namek or whatever, and then another one from a Kai, and then yeah, I think this is like the second one. Gohan is like the luckiest motherfucking Saiyan, you know? He's just like, give me a power up, I'll take it, I'll take it.
I'm a bit mixed on it. While I understand that Gohan is getting his own potential unlocked, it does suck to have him built up to be the next protagonist, only to have him slack off enough that he needs this boost. That being said, he did train for the Tenkaichi Budokai, and even trained with the Z-Sword as well. Then, considering how Goku struggled to lift the Z-Sword, base Gohan might actually be stronger than base Goku at this point, so maybe you could consider the potential unlock a reward for his hard training. This is
Potential unlocked reward for training. I mean, I guess I could buy that. I mean, it still feels like kind of cheap or whatever, but I mean, but like if that's the case, then where's the reward unlocks for like everybody else that was training or whatever? Then I would just ask that, but I don't know, maybe.
This is just another case where I can see it both ways.
Yeah.
Then we get into modern Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Super. Well, technically Dragon Ball Z, since both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F were actually Dragon Ball Z movies first, and there are actually two power-ups to talk about in Battle of Gods. The first might be surprising, but it's Vegeta's Rage boost against Beerus. You see, Rage boosts before modern Dragon Ball were entirely left to Gohan, with other characters only getting a boost from their rage via a new transformation like Super Saiyan. This unprecedented way to get a power-up for a character that isn't Gohan actually leads me to think it's fairly unearned, but I'm sure that's a contentious opinion.
The rage boost, it honestly, it seems more fitting to call it like a blind rage boost, because, you know, Gohan as a little kid, you know, what happens when you think of a little kid? You think of, like, you know, they got no self-control over their emotions, and they just do, all right? So it's like blind rage. It doesn't need to make sense. What was it? What happened in Battle of Gods? Beerus like slapped Bulma or whatever, and then Vegeta goes like blind rage mode. If I try to compare it to real life, and you were to do that to like any like person in real life, and then the husband comes over, a same similar thing would happen. So, I mean, earned or unearned, it's like that's the reality of what would happen in real life. But I know we're not talking about like what would happen in real life. We're talking about earned, unearned. So.
Then we of course have Super Saiyan God. To me, the issue of foreshadowing this form is rectified by having Battle of Gods be an arc rather than just a movie, but even in the context of the movie, it's foreshadowed fairly well. You could think it's unearned due to it being acquired via a ritual, but the movie at least addresses this as
oh yeah, this motherfucker got that shit from a ritual. Oh my god. Did he earn it? Did he not earn it? I mean, he's the fucking main character. The main character doesn't I was gonna say doesn't have to earn it because they're just the main character, but that doesn't even seem right. The unearned. Dang. I forgot that completely happened. Shit. Dang. Dang. This is a good question. Okay, I don't know.
Goku's main complaint with the form. Honestly though, Goku is the only reason the ritual can happen in the first place. He's earned this power by being the person who made it possible for 5 other righteous Saiyans to even exist. Remember—
Oh, yeah. Goku earns it purely by living his life and doing the things he did to arrive here, to have a bunch of people care about him, to do the ritual for him. So in that sense, I could see it's earned, but from like Goku's sense, like he wants to just train as like hard as fuck and wants to get it himself. But so, okay, I guess I could see it like that.
Characters are more than the arc that's currently happening. Their history matters for stuff like this. And for me, that makes this power-up work extremely well. Super Saiyan Blue is of course earned through training, and even if you dislike the fact that Golden Frieza only required 4 months of training, does that make it unearned?
Yeah, that just feels cheap. The whole Golden Frieza thing. Like, oh, Frieza never trained because he was powerful enough to begin with. And then once he like put some effort into it, because Goku was beating his ass, it's like, I'm golden now. It's like, come on, for 4 months, like, get the fuck out of here. Just because the story demands it, that Frieza needs to be like powerful just to stay like catch up with the main characters. That kind of feels unearned. And the whole thing with the Frieza training thing is like, I think the only thing that happened was he just said like a sentence or two where it was like, I trained for 4 months, finally, and now I got this strong. It's like we didn't even see him training at all. Just like before, we like for the 7-year training thing from like the beginning of the Buu arc, it's like you don't see anybody training. You don't see anybody going through it or anything. He just says, yeah, I did it, and that should satisfy you enough. Like, yeah, that doesn't feel good.
Why just training for something doesn't make it clear if it's earned or unearned. We don't have a line for how much training is good enough, and honestly, you could call it unearned, and I wouldn't blame you at all. Which leads us to Super Saiyan Rage, the form Trunks acquires in the Dragon Ball Super anime. It has one of the coolest reasons to transform ever in the series. Trunks is basically being told it's his fault everything bad has happened, and he refuses to accept that, but that's about all we get. There's no foreshadowing, no explanation, and we're meant to forget it the minute the arc ends. I think you can headcanon a way for it to be earned, but it's never really acknowledged in the narrative, so I don't think we should either. This should be obvious, but I think it's unearned. Then we get to the contentious power-ups that happen before the Tournament of Power. There are quite a few, but some are just misunderstood. Like the fact that Krillin isn't as strong as Blue Goku. Goku was testing how Krillin would handle such a large gap in power, which is exactly what Gohan and Android 18 say. Goku's clearly holding back as not to kill Krillin, and a god form is the best way to do that since they can't sense how strong he is. Not to mention the fact that Krillin was losing regardless. Then we have Android—
Oh, I forgot about that. It's like, yeah, when you watch it, it's like, oh my god, Krillin can still slap. He's going toe-to-toe with Red Goku or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but like even then, he can't even like go all the way. And it's like, what did we see Krillin do? We didn't see Krillin do shit. He's even more of an offender of like, yeah, I was training. He like the sentence, I was training, you know, when we didn't even see him or whatever.
17 actually being Super Saiyan Blue Goku level, and yeah, that's just unearned. I don't have much to say here. Finally,
yeah, that's a big true. Like, what was it, 17? The one with the black hair or whatever? It's like, what was he doing? He just became like a tree hugger or some shit, and he's just like, I'm gonna go protect the forest. And that's how I got strong. I've just been living out here in the forest. Like, what?
Gohan also rivals Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but that isn't from less than a day of training with Piccolo like most people think. After Resurrection F, Gohan asks to be trained by Piccolo again, and we even see them training before the Universe 6 tournament. If you for some reason don't believe this, compare Gohan in Resurrection F to Gohan in the Zen exhibition.
Oh yeah.
Even before he trained
like anorexic when he was in that little tracksuit
with Piccolo for a final time, Gohan is clearly in way better shape than when he—
Oh yeah, this is like, oh, Jesus, this is like stick mode.
Faced Frieza.
This is like day one at the gym.
Obviously, the narrative could do a better job of reminding you that Gohan has been doing some training, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So in a world where Frieza gets to God level from Namek level in 4 months, I think Gohan training for 2 years to go from Buu Saga level to God level is completely fine, relative to the more egregious examples at least.
Yeah, again, this is just like, I mean, because it's fucking Dragon Ball, you know? Everyone gets like exponentially stronger, like through every power up, because you know that's what just the IP demands or whatever. The next transformation has to be bigger, badder, stronger, and then it's like you'd think there would be like some sort of like I don't know, like linear. Like you think this show would have like training montages down, but it's like, I mean, because what do we see for like training montages? It's like, oh, they fight a little bit, they spar, they blast each other with beams and shit. They do some push-ups, they run. Maybe they lift like a bazillion pound barbell over the head to symbolize I'm super strong, or they wear like the super weighted weights on their hands and feet to be like training montage, you know? I don't know.
People then complain about the Universe 6 Saiyans, specifically Caulifla, because they don't like the way she unlocks Super Saiyan. While I agree the way it was explained is pretty lame, I do understand the idea that once something is discovered once, it's much easier to teach others how to replicate it. We skipped over this, but my basic view on Caulifla is that if you don't think Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks are unearned, then you shouldn't think this is either, and the same is true in reverse. Then in the tournament itself, plenty
I mean, Goten and Trunks, didn't they get their, like, didn't they pop off like Super Saiyan where they were in that gravity room or whatever, training with like Vegeta or whatever? Or no, that's how Trunks got it. I forgot how Goten got it. Was he like training with Gohan or whatever? And then he just like popped it off like during training, and then Vegeta just like punched Trunks or whatever. And then Trunks was like, "It's too hard. This room is too heavy." And he's like, "Maybe I'll go into like, I'll do the spiky hair thing or whatever." And then he's just like, boom. And then he pops into it. And then Vegeta's like, "What?" So, I don't know.
of power-ups happen. Ultra Instinct was of course something Goku had been training towards with Whis since Resurrection F, so I think everyone understands why that works. I think the one that people point to as the most unearned is actually Blue Evolution. While Goku trained to use Kaioken with Super Saiyan Blue, Vegeta unlocked this form during the tournament itself. It entirely comes from Vegeta wanting to fulfill his promise to Kaba, but it's really hollow. There is a narrative.
Okay, so Blue Goku, it could overlap that with like the Kaioken bullshit around it. So the story needed Vegeta to have like some sort of similar thing. He needed to be blue with like some other bullshit. So I forgot exactly how he got it. Something about pride or whatever.
Narrative behind it, especially with his whole speech about Saiyans breaking their limits towards the end of the tournament, but I think it would have been better if he got it during his fight with God of Destruction Toppo, since he would be rewarded for rejecting Toppo's philosophy. Either way, I don't...
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of these times the characters just standing and just narrating, telling each other their like morals and ethics or whatever. So for Vegeta to have like a disagreement with Toppo at the time, I think it would have been a little bit better. Just to... just because it's a clash of morals.
I don't think I can call it unearned entirely. There is a theme behind it, but I can say it's pretty lame though. Then I don't think there's actually anything to cover in the Broly movie. If you're really concerned about how Broly is so powerful, he trained for 40 years, has insane potential, got stronger during the fight, and had transformations on top of it all. Usually,
yeah, but fighting bugs for what, 40 years or 4 years? I don't remember. Because I don't know, what was the age of Broly? Like when he got on the planet to when he got off the planet. It's like, I don't think you could fight bugs for, I don't know, 15, 20, however long years he was on there. And just be going to God mode to be able to stand toe to toe with like Blue Goku and Blue Vegeta, you know? It's like, that doesn't seem like logical in any sense. But just because Broly is like a bestial saying that he was able to do it. So it, again, I mean, yeah, it's probably earned because again, it just does that whole like, yeah, I was training, but you didn't see it type deal. I mean, I get it.
We only get one of those things to explain how someone's so strong, so having all of them makes it earned enough for me. To briefly touch on the Dragon Ball Super manga, I think just about everything is earned in the Moro arc. Then in the Granola arc, these two guys wish to be the strongest in the universe. That's clearly unearned, and I don't even think that's a hot take. Finally, we have
I haven't seen anything from like now on.
Dragon Ball Super Superhero. The big two cases of unearned power are Piccolo and Gohan. I have a whole video dedicated to how we got to Orange Piccolo, but I will briefly say it's his dragon. Kami and Piccolo are one again, so Shenron was originally the dragon he made. This is power that comes from himself at the end.
Oh, hitting the fans with the logic. Ooh, maybe.
Of the day, and it even ties into the journey of Namekian warriors during times of great suffering that we learned about in Dragon Ball Super. Narratively, this is very different than the characters of the Granola arc who selfishly lusted for power, especially when you remember Piccolo only wanted his own potential unlocked, not to be the strongest person in the universe. Which leaves us with Beast Go.
Okay, so I could buy that the Piccolo thing was earned because it's his dragon. I can kind of buy that.
Gohan, and I'm extremely torn on this. In the Dragon Ball Super anime, Gohan tells Goku he's going to make an ultimate form that no one has ever seen before, which manifests itself as Beast Gohan. That's cool and would have been
baller ass form, all right? Bro, like Beast Gohan looks so fucking badass. The only time that it looks bad is like when he's just standing there, like in beast form with no lightning, no like aura, and he like there's like a scene where he just like turns his head and you see how disproportionately like large the hair is to like the rest of his body. It looks ridiculously stupid. I was like, why would they include that shot?
Great had it been earned through some other means. Obviously, Gohan has been doing some amount of training since he taught himself the Makanko Seppo, but he didn't unlock Beast until we got a one-to-one recreation of his Super Saiyan 2 transformation. It just feels hollow, like Super Saiyan Rage Trunks did, and then when you remember Gohan was just stapled onto what was supposed to be a Piccolo movie, I'll be brave and call the form unearned. Maybe the manga version will fix it up a bit. But that's all I got. Remember to subscribe if you haven't yet, and thank you so very much for watching.
All right. I thought this was good. I never seen this dude before. Yeah. Trying to figure out what feels earned and unearned, I think was great. I'm the sucker for like Dragon Ball fucking videos or whatever. Yeah, I thought this was a great video. And yeah, you know, of course, when a character goes through some sort of transformation, it feels unearned or whatever. It doesn't feel good, and it just feels like just another transformation being tacked on for the sake of the story, getting bigger and better and more extravagant or whatever. Yeah. But overall, I think it was a good video. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Good video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. All right, later.